now without any further ado. Um, Welcome everybody who are new to this. Um, a short introduction of what we do here. This is our monthly segment of WaiTutorials where we present bite-sized tutorials for our audience. And this month it's been all about marketing and AI, gladly organized by our esteemed member Adebola for ourselves. And today's speaker is Rebecca Power, who's going to be talking about chatbots and customer service. And in the light of generative AI and everything that's happening here, it is truly the new frontier. Rebecca, she's a global implementation manager at Rippling, and I'm really delighted to welcome her in today's session. Thank you so much, and really looking forward. Over to you, Rebecca.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Hi, everyone. I hope you'll bear with me because this is the first time that I've done a talk like this. So just to get the jitters out of the way, I think I can thank Navneeta for introducing me. There might be a little bit of confusion because in my original introduction, it did say I work for Social Talent. I'm in the process, or at least I've begun the process of working for Rippling now as a global implementation manager. And I think I have a little slide that just goes through a little bit of an intro for myself. So I might just share my screen. Bear with me 2 seconds. And we can hit that. You let me know when you can see this. All good? Super. So I am really excited to be talking to everybody today about chatbots and customer service, the new frontier. And I like to look at this as an experience that is actually enhancing the customer experience using automation. It's a word we are all very much more familiar with these days, I think. It's just coming up again and again as we evolve, as technology evolves, and as opportunities arise. I think it's really the key to how we're going to start shaping how we operate, through our business, through our day-to-day. We already have begun that journey, right? Just a little bit about me. I am from Waterford in Ireland, so sunny southeast, although I think for anyone else who's here, we haven't been experiencing much sun all around the country for this whole summer and most likely into the winter. But I actually live now in Portlaoise, County Laois, and I work in Dublin for Rippling. And just to give you a little bit of an idea about my background, my professional profile, I do actually have about 15 years, maybe more, but just counting within customer service. And that actually scopes directly from, general customer service into sales, into technical support, customer success management, building out the operations behind a lot of that, and implementation management as well. And that's across multiple corporate entities in terms of size. So my position has changed. It's grown quite a bit. And I'm actually quite lucky to say that I've worked for some of the best companies I can name out there. So I've spent a long stint in Apple, and I like to say that's where I got the tech bug. I went in there, I had no technical background whatsoever, and I started getting promoted very quickly because it hit me very quickly that this was my future. And from there, I moved into Transformate. I believe I hear that being labelled as Ireland's fintech unicorn. Fantastic company. And what was really special about there was I was able to support building out a lot of the operational stuff around success and customer lifecycle journey. And I actually spent some time building chatbots. So this was really where I started to understand how we could really shape our journey in utilizing these kinds of technologies and how we can create more efficiencies. Throughout my time then in HubSpot, where it was more so consulting companies about how we could possibly use automations, workflows. and then on into social talent, where I was a senior customer success manager, and my latest venture, of course, in Rippling as a global implementation manager, which I'm very excited about. But I think I had a little chat and a little joke about people, Q4, what a time to start, but it's all good. And I do think I have quite a unique experience because I've seen the inside and I've seen the outside of how processes get built out, how we need to make them more efficient, how we can utilize things like chatbots, other automations, how we need to really interact with our colleagues and collaborate, and really just how we need to grow and use these technologies. So that's just a little bit about me. And I just want to jump on to the next slide on the topics that I'm looking to cover today. So I promise you, none of these are going to be too long. It'll be a little bit to the point, but I'm happy to answer any questions if I can towards the end also. So I just want to cover a little bit about what are chatbots. I'd like to look at the evolution of customer service, where we are, versus where we started, and where we might be going in the future. And then the benefits of chatbots within the customer service and the customer lifecycle journey. Potential hurdles that might come up, because with any emerging technology, we're going to find those. And then obviously the future of chatbots and customer service and how that might look. And just a general summary conclusion. So just jumping in here, and please enjoy my graphics. I spent time on them just for you. Just going through what chatbots are, and I think we're all familiar with them. Every time we visit a website, we hear a little ping and this chat bubble pops up and it says, "How can I help you?" And it's an immediate reaction. We almost expect it now. It's like conditioning. And because we've become more impatient, it's almost a good thing at this stage. But what chatbots are behind everything are just simply a type of software that's often embedded in a web page. It can either be pre-programmed, which are the ones that I have particular experience with, or built with AI technology. And its use is basically to communicate with visitors and customers through text. The idea of a chatbot is essentially just to reduce the need for human interaction. The company Intercom is stating that 75% of their automated resolutions come from their resolution bot, which is super impressive, because I think that relates directly back into those commonly asked questions, and when they are implemented correctly, we do see that we can resolve typical issues. The one thing about the AI chatbots is that they do need to be continuously trained, but what's fantastic about them is that it does leave employees to do what they do best, and that is to make a positive impact, because your employees are the ones that should be solving the complex problems and driving the value and giving that time back to them to deliver where it needs to be delivered. FAQs and resources and things like that can just be conveniently passed on by chatbots, which is really, really fantastic. If we look at the evolution of customer service and where we came from to where we are, I think nothing has changed, yet everything has changed, right? Because I have a graphic here that takes us through it, right? If we look back, tale as old as time, we would communicate to each other in a face-to-face scenario. And the benefits of connecting with each other on a face-to-face level is that there was a lot of trust and value built up in those connections. If we look along this timeline, we can see that, as technology has evolved and grown, and business needs obviously have grown as well, we're introduced to systems like the telephone. And the telephone also brought on those IVR touch tone systems. So I'm sure even now we find ourselves, we have certain shops where we'll go in, we'll speak to somebody and they might say, "You know what, you pay me later for that." Or if we jump onto a phone with somebody, we often have to press 1 to go through to X department, press 2 to go through to Y department. It's still stuff that we're all doing, but it seems like it's in the past. It's certainly not. It's something that we're carrying with us. And I like to say that, if we look towards the end of this chart, the final goal for all of this is the happy and fulfilled customer, right? Their life cycle journey and how we can improve that. But we moved on from touch tones on phones to the internet and email. And, with these things as they're evolving, we're seeing that we need to improve our processes, because with the internet and email, I believe that's more than likely when service pipelines might have been conceived, and how we needed to start really looking at SLAs and how to drive home, positive interaction for customer service. Which is why live chat then would have been developed, which was, I suppose, the pre-existing version of where a chatbot would have come in, right? And I don't know, does anybody utilize live chats? I use live chats regularly. I've sent an email this week, and even now, just recently, personal story, I've had to jump on to a social media app and connect with my my bin carrier just because there was a service issue, but it got resolved very quickly. So this life cycle journey and this evolution, all of these stages are still quite valid and still being used regularly. And it doesn't take away from the fact that we have the ability to use technology even more and to grow even more in our utilization of it, which is where we're taken over to the development of chatbots and AI. So your original chatbot, it would have been built with the idea of, sending out frequently used articles, frequently used resources to resolve issues. In my time utilizing them, it was a case where I had developed a service pipeline and I needed to figure out how can I address these issues very, very quickly, right? And the main thing was that I knew that there were several topics that I was sending out again and again, and I was getting my team to send out again and again. And this is how we programmed our chatbot to begin with. It was initially just to address those key issues. And that was a pre-programmed one. And now with the development of AI and the ability for AI to feed into our systems and to be intelligent enough to read the answers, it's now able to automatically distribute solutions, distribute resolutions, and answer those frequently asked questions. The future of AI in customer service, if I were to put that all in here about what I suspect the future is, this list would not end. I believe a lot of it has to do with augmented reality, virtual assistants. The list goes on, even into the Internet of Things. But like I said at the beginning, our final goal is that happy and fulfilled customer. So why do we want to use chatbots? It comes back into that life cycle journey of a customer and how we want to positively influence them. We want to influence them in the best way possible, but we also want to be a little bit selfish about how we're going to actually do that. And just to give you a brief list, because I could write a list the length of my arm, but a brief one, ones that I think are quite to the point and will kind of, speak across the board to a lot of people, are that customers want 24/7 support. The benefit of using a chatbot is that if you are running a business, drop shipping business, you're trying to reach countries that are outside of your standard business operating hours, you can still respond to your customer, give instant responses. That reduces the waiting time significantly for SLA resolution, and then obviously improves your customer satisfaction. And that's what we want at the end of the day, positive CSATs, right? And the reality of that is humans are impatient these days. We're so used to having smartphones. We're so used to having Google and searching for something and getting an instant response that when we reach out to a company, having an instant response makes an instant impact on how we appreciate that. I personally love this one because it was one of the reasons why I started looking at chatbots originally. The next one is around cost efficiencies. This is something that is specific to businesses when you are looking at, having a large customer support team needing to operate within those other hours that are outside of business hours, possibly paying for antisocial working hours. Having a chatbot that's able to deal with those issues immediately, to go and say to a customer, we have raised a ticket. Your ticket is being handled. We are dealing with your query. And even just to send an email automatically off the back of that, because what's wonderful about chatbots is they can feed into additional task delegation, additional workflows, and for a customer to know that, okay, this is in hand, even if the chatbot can't handle it instantly and it needs to go to a person. The cost efficiency of not having people there that you need to pay to do that job, and, hiring a large support team, it just makes sense to put it into technology that is continuously growing and evolving. That, really, I think the rest of the world is growing and evolving, and our own technology is managing to meet those needs also. The other side of this, and it's one that I've come into contact with throughout my professional career, is being able to scale our customer service processes. And to do that, we need to be consistent. And consistency means that our customers need to be treated the same. They need continuity. They do not need to be over-serviced. And I'm sure anyone in this room who has dealt with customers and customer service has come into the challenges of time being overspent on particular clients or customers, or customers having experienced one thing, because human error is a real thing and we are emotional creatures and there is nothing wrong with that. But when we are looking at scaling, we need repeatable processes, and chatbots really, really do set the stage for expectation further down the line. The other side of this in terms of scalability and I suppose touching back on the need for the large support team, is that chatbots actually have the ability to handle increased workloads, and they can be programmed to expand. They can translate documents. They can be more dynamic. Whatever you want to put into your chatbot, depending on how you want to utilize it, you can set it up to scale, which is fantastic. I will say you will need to collaborate with your product team, with your development team, but it is worth it. The other side then as well that I'll touch on is data analysis, integration, and automation. And we touched on that a little bit there with the automation piece and the workflows feeding into a chatbot. The benefits of doing that are just phenomenal. The automation part of it, a client can fill in several questions within the chatbot itself, and it triggers multiple tasks, engages them into, certain email threads. We could even use it for lead qualification, and then integrating data. So if certain topics are coming up again and again, or if our chatbot is not actually responding in the way that we want it to, that data analysis is going to help us make changes internally to our product, because we shouldn't have the same questions coming up again and again and again. They should be self-serve options. Or if the chatbot's not actually fulfilling what it's supposed to do, we then have the data to go back and to, I suppose, reevaluate how we're processing, feeding, and training that chatbot. The integration side of it is fantastic, because we can utilize integration into other tools, into reporting, so that we can have dashboards, so that we can look at what our NPS score is, so that we can, even integrate it into some surveys, and we can really get the word from the customer about how this actually is, impacting their experience. Some other benefits I would touch on as well are personalization, engagement, and retention. All keywords within the customer service and customer lifecycle journey. We want to make sure that we're having proactive conversations with customers and that they don't necessarily feel like they're speaking to a bot. And when you're using an AI chatbot, you can utilize it where it's linked directly into a customer profile and it's feeding information back. So personalizing that experience. And then naturally, as issues are resolved as time goes on, customers do feel like, you're providing tools that are enabling them to continue utilizing your product and continue that relationship with your company, and therefore increasing brand loyalty and in your own retention rates, which is, what we do always want. And then obviously self-service. I think it's something that I learned very early on in terms of interacting with customers. One of the best things that you can do to a customer is empower them to resolve their own issues by using your resources. We come across the term sticky customers, and how can we make them happy? How can we deliver something that shows value? And I think by showing a customer that they can resolve their own issues, but you're still feeding that information into them, it's a real quick win in terms of customer satisfaction and customer service. It also does reduce their time within your service pipeline. You're providing them resources, they're resolving their issues, they'll purchase again, which is the goal at the end of the day. And then if we touch again on other areas, and we touched on this earlier on around what chatbots can be used for within customer service. It's not always going to be a query. It might be something that allows us to qualify leads, that allows us to recommend products, that allows us to increase revenue opportunities and create pipeline opportunities further down the line. Chatbots can be utilized in many, many different ways. It's never a one size fits all, which can be good and it can be bad, but it just depends on your own creativity and how you want to utilize it. And overall, the benefit of using a chatbot is, and I suppose it speaks back to the company itself, is how can we increase our NPS score, our net promoter score? And with the chatbot itself, the chatbot isn't the single answer. The chatbot needs to be fed the information, needs to be well thought out. But the reality is, if your customers are engaging with your chatbot and getting resolutions without having to wait on hold, or without having to wait 2 to 3 business days for a response that may not actually be responded to, and they get that quicker resolution, chances are you're going to have a bigger NPS score, more positive NPS score. And it's not just the chatbot that's doing it for you, but more so how you've chosen to use it and how you've encouraged your customer to engage with it. Specifically around, any kind of technical issue resolution where it's an FAQ, those are very, very quick wins. So if we do just look at the future of chatbots and customer service and some of the potential hurdles that we might come across, some of the challenges, and I think I touched on this a moment ago, is it is not a one size fits all solution. And I hope you do enjoy this graphic, because I just feel like, there may be hurdles, but at the end of the day, we're all going towards that finish line. I think the main thing to take into account here is that when we are considering using any AI technology, anything such as a chatbot, we do need to be deliberate in how we are considering using it. So it comes back to how we have shaped our customer lifecycle journey. Have we chosen to scale that? Do we want to utilize it for all aspects of the business, or are we just utilizing it to answer the frequently answered questions and immediately link it into a human? I'm sure you've utilized them in the past where it's popped up, speak to a human. It's not a one size fits all, and it just depends on how deliberate you want to be in your usage of it. I talked about cost savings before, and I'm also going to talk about how there can be costs associated with the chatbot itself when you are scaling, because depending on the size of what you want to do, the translation integrations, and we're all in that situation now where every business has the opportunity to become global. The need for language translations, the need for integrations into other systems is all costly. And just to be aware of something like that when you are considering this technology. And then In terms of AI training and prompting, it does open up new job opportunities, but it's just more so resource draining in terms of time, because it is still an evolving technology, and it's something just to bear in mind. And certain areas where I would also say that, we just need to consider where we're using it until it evolves, because it is somewhere where I believe it's being managed and it's being worked on at the moment is around regulatory compliance. But as of right now, we have to consider the when, the how, and the why we're using AI at the moment is important. The other thing that you need to consider as well is that as humans, we are creatures of habit. And change management is something that does need to be considered, and getting people involved and on board and speaking to the strengths of why we can do that, but being very realistic about if we are bringing in something like AI and chatbots, how will it affect how we operate? What processes are going to change? And it's not a big hurdle, but at the same time, it's one to be aware of, because technology is ever changing. And as I touched on before, it is still evolving, and this is only in the baby phases of where it's at the moment. ChatGPT is still in its infancy. If we look at the other technologies, they are all still in their infancy and they're still growing. And this is only a positive thing, because the longer they're out, the more we utilize them, the more intelligent they become. And, the better results that we will get from actually using them. So if we do look at what the future might actually look like, and this is just a brief list, I don't have all of the answers here, but I can see the future of chatbots and customer service basically leading to smarter bots doing better. And what that means is that we're going to have more understanding from our bots, a better handling of more complex situations, easier answers achieved as a customer. The benefits of going in and typing into a bot saying, I have this issue, and it being able to resolve it in a quicker time frame without it having to go into a service pipeline will be phenomenal from a customer standpoint. And then I also see that, there'll be multilingual and multi-optional support, considering accessibility options being developed in the future. So rather than there just being a chatbot that's dependent solely on text, it's looking like it will actually be developed further into different instances where voice support is introduced, image-based interactions, as well as the text that we always have. And then advanced integration into other emerging technologies, augmented reality, I touched on that earlier. It'll be a more immersive experience. You may have a virtual assistant. And then if we are looking at those repetitive tasks, the advanced automation of those. So really being proactive and dynamic and disruptive in how we are attacking that customer service interaction. And disruption can be a very, very good thing, a very positive thing, and it can make you stand out in terms of how you're operating with your customer service. And then I think as well, one of the key things, and it's somewhere that I enjoy quite a bit, is the data analysis and insights that we can gain from utilizing something like this, utilizing something like an AI chatbot as it's being developed in the future. We could be looking at increased forecasting abilities, and that's the biggest thing that I think is going to help shape businesses, how we're changing our operational processes, how we're planning for the future. And then I think chatbots, while they are being used quite a bit at the moment, I do think that they are going to be introduced on a wider scale. Across all industries. We can see them in multiple industries as is. We can see the ability, to book train tickets in some companies, to book travel tickets, to book meals, and then obviously in tech, resolving technical issues. There are so many uses of chatbots. Even if you go on and try to purchase clothing, you can utilize a chatbot to resolve your issues. And I know I've been talking for a while on this, but just to bring it up to the final point and conclusion, because I did promise to keep it nice and short and to give a little bit of time for questions. I do think that technology is advancing at an incredible rate. And with our needs, in business, in tech, as customers, in every interaction that we have, they're just becoming more and more demanding. And personally, working in a fast-paced environment, and I'm sure I can speak for a lot of people with, new products being brought in, industries are changing, their needs are changing. It can lead to burnout because we're trying to take on more than we can carry. And humans collaborating with tools such as AI-driven chatbots, I think that is the key to supporting our staff in a world that is evolving and supporting our customers too. And I think we really do need to look at it as a tool that can help us grow, help us scale, enable more data-driven decisions and feed into different industries, multiple areas. And I think if we look at it, we can really utilize it both internally and for customer-facing scenarios. Just as it does develop, and the more data that we have, the more that we can make decisions. And the goal is always to improve the overall experience, and chatbots can be the support that we never knew that we needed. And there will always be challenges, but the key is to be super deliberate in how we consider utilizing AI-driven chatbots and to drive our customers' experience forward and influence our own internal processes using the data gathered while using the bots. And I did include a list here because I can't speak for every chatbot technology that's out there, but there are AI chatbot builders. There are tons of them. But just to give you an idea of some of them that are there, Writesonic's blog actually lists the 6 best AI chatbot builders. And I've included a link there just if anybody did want to look into it, because some of their use cases are phenomenal. And I think it's worthwhile digging into that and seeing how they can actually, impact your industry. But that is the end of my presentation and talk. I'm just wondering if anybody has any questions. Okay, Adebola. Will there be a time that it will be mostly chatbots compared to human interaction? How close do you think that time is? Also, do you have any examples of companies using AI or customer service success currently? Yeah. So just to look at the first part of that question, so will there be a time that it will be mostly chatbots compared to human interaction? So in relation to that, I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think we're going to utilize chatbots how we utilize Google. Right now, it doesn't stop us communicating with companies, even though Google does exist. It doesn't prevent us going in and picking up a phone. It doesn't prevent us, getting online and getting on Zoom with those companies. I think we'll utilize it in a way to get directly to the source. And I don't think that there is a time frame on it. I think we're just going to utilize it more and more as it becomes more available. And in terms of examples of companies that are using AI for customer service or success currently, yes, HubSpot. HubSpot have recently introduced ChatSpot, and it's a way to utilize. They've introduced it to address a lot of the issues around customer service, to resolve many of their issues. There's multiple companies out there utilizing it, and I think some of them are listed in the blog that I'm attaching to the deck. Okay, Marinara, can you recommend any chatbot builders? Which do companies use the most? Which is more powerful? So it is in the blog, but one that's been recommended a lot was Mina, which is programmed through Google. It seems to be the smartest one that's out there at the moment. It seems to be the one that has the best processing in terms of language capabilities from what I've read up on. I'm not an expert in all of the chatbot builders, but I think the article that I sent over would address a lot of those questions. And I definitely think it's worthwhile looking into that because it does list out the top ones. Any other questions? Amarachi, I worked with a chatbot building organization called WebIO2. Yeah, Adebola, I'll paste that into the chat. Bear with me. This was through WriteSonic and it was on their blog. Yes, I've seen WebIO quite a bit, Amarachi. I haven't interacted with it myself, but it's definitely something that I can look into in the future. Oh, I don't think that went through because I have it saved as a hyperlink. There we go. There we go. Got it. Super. Instead it pasted my text. Perfect. Does anyone have any other questions in terms of chatbots and customer service and AI?
I might have one if there's nobody else posting questions here on the chat. How how do you spell the Google one?
I'm typing it in right now. There you go. What was that, Nabanita?
Yeah, so I was just asking, as into in the last few months, generative AI has taken like a big leap into, the capabilities of what AI can do for especially chatbots and customer service, right? And I think most of the companies they are investigating in this side of things. How do you think that has impacted the whole scenario of building chatbots for customer service, and how would that impact?
Can you rephrase that question? Sorry.
What is the impact of generative AI on chatbots and customer service in general?
So I think realistically, I've had to research this quite a bit, both through usage and both in preparation for this, if I'm very honest. And what I've seen is that people initially, and I think this goes back to live chat scenarios, people initially see chats that pop up, whether they're AI chatbots, and they just think, oh God, it's a bot. And that's initially going to be the thought of a customer. But if we look at demographics and break it down, into millennial versus Gen X versus Gen Z, we can see that the younger generations are utilizing it more. And we can see that, I think that the impact on AI and customer service is that the more that we utilize it, the more it's going to kind of, I suppose, take a higher position in how we're actually linking it into our processes.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that it is going to be a stronger development in the future, because when we do look at the results, when we do look at the research that's out there, and we can see some of it there. I think I gave an example in the first slide, just in terms of one of the companies that is utilizing it. It's Intercom. And they're stating that 75% of their automated resolutions come from their resolution bot.
Mm-hmm.
It is already showing that technologically based companies are utilizing it with strong results. It just depends on how deliberate we're being when we're introducing it and where we're using it, where we're actually choosing, to do it. We wouldn't necessarily put it in data gathering in Europe where GDPR is essential, right? But we might actually put it into somewhere where it's a case of, we're getting commonly asked questions, frequently asked questions, where we can swiftly provide resources.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Right, there is another question. Thanks, Rebecca, for that. I think Adebola has a question. As a customer experience expert, if you had a magic wand for what AI could do to make customer service better, then what applies mostly today? What will you ask for?
Okay, this is a good question. Because
Yeah.
AI, I think when we do look at it, we look at it as a magic wand, right? I think
Mm,
when we hear about ChatGPT, everyone says, put it into ChatGPT, we'll fix it, we'll get that answer right away. That's what I hear every single day. And just for me, the one thing that I would like to see AI resolve is creating more efficient customer lifecycle journeys in terms of SLAs on service pipelines and things like that. I think that would be the biggest win and the quickest thing that I could ask for, because it's one of the issues that most companies struggle with. And I think just if I could fix that immediately with some sort of I think that would be the one thing that I would ask for. But it is something that needs to be fed into continuously. So I think watch this space.
mm, exactly. There's
Can you give an example of that? An example of
what?
make an example of what, Marinara? The customer lifecycle journey. So just to give you an idea, when we're looking at a customer lifecycle journey, I like to break it down from inception to completion. And that begins right back at that marketing interaction, right? How does a customer become a customer? And when you're utilizing something like a chatbot with AI and it's leading into those potential lead qualification discussions, I like to break it down, and I have been known to break it down by writing everything out. And it is a little bit of a monotonous task, but breaking it down into a list of every single step that we hit along the way of that customer lifecycle journey. And how can we make it more efficient? Where can we step in? So when we are looking at a service pipeline, and where I was touching on a moment ago, Marinara, I would say that we're looking at SLAs and how we can reduce that time frame, how we can be more efficient, and how we can scale. And that's already once a customer is a customer. And how, when I'm looking at saying how can we make, the customer lifecycle journey better, I'm thinking of how can we make them a repeat customer. And when I'm looking at completion, that's either they continue to be a customer and they renew a contract, or they purchase with us again, or they leave our company and they end their relationship with us. But preferably that we've created such an efficient interaction with our system, with enough resolutions to make them sticky, to increase brand loyalty, and to make that life cycle journey continuous rather than ending with an abrupt stop, which we do see. And I think that's unavoidable. But if we can reduce it a little bit, I mean, why not? And if we can use AI to help us to do that, absolutely. I will sign up for it every day, all day.
That's very true, Rebecca. I think one of the things that they're in terms of, because I've been working a little bit on the customer journey, not exactly customer journey, but on chatbots for customer service. I think the best thing that's emerging at this point of time, before 10 months back, I think the chatbots were more rule based, and the questions that you get to ask is really limited, and the response that you get is also limited. And right now the exploration, so I think next few years it's going to be massive growth in this area, right?
Yeah, I completely agree.
Exactly. And I think the kind of response, the right kind of engagement that we should be able to generate going forward with, all the advancements that we're making in AI is going to be massive in terms of its impact on customer journeys, faster and efficient resolutions.
Mm-hmm. And I think as well, as the software is being developed and that there's the natural language processing that's happening, you know, the more you interact with them, the more intelligent they're going to get. There are people who have jobs that are to feed information into these chatbots, to prompt them. And, it's creating jobs. And I think what people fear a lot of the time is that, oh my God, AI is going to steal my job. Absolutely not. As long as AI exists, our jobs will exist. Specifically around chatbots, somebody needs to feed that data into a system. And with the natural language processing software being introduced, it's not going to feel so much that you're speaking to a bot, because I don't know, have you ever seen any of the videos of people speaking to AI and they're having these complex conversations? Why not envision that happening within your chatbot itself? Because that is what's going to happen in the future. That is the direction of where this software journey is moving. And I'm very excited about it, because what that means for me as a professional who has to deal with all of these queries on the regular is that when I'm having to speak to a client or a customer, and I know that there is a very straightforward answer, and I might have an email template set up, but that's taking time out of my day, I do not have to deal with that. And I get to have those complex strategic conversations, those consultations that really drive me and that really drive success with the customer, because anybody can send an email out, anybody can Google and get a resource. Why not give it to the chatbot and let you use your creativity to really drive your career? And chatbots are just enabling us to do that without the burnout.
Absolutely, Rebecca. That's right. Um, do we have any other questions or comments? If not, then it's time to close our session. I would like to thank Rebecca once again. Thank you so much for this very insightful talk for Women in AI Ireland. And thank you everybody for joining this session. Hope you have a lovely evening. We have two more upcoming sessions in the AI and marketing segment, the next week, Wednesday as well, and the following week. And so see you there soon. Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks everybody for joining. Have a lovely evening.
Thanks so much. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you. Bye bye.